done to that land and to those people and the deaths that we've caused.
Afghanistan is a total and complete disaster. What are we doing? Get out of Afghanistan.
We should have never been in Iraq. We have destabilized the Middle East. They lied. They said there were weapons of mass destruction. There were none, and they knew there were none.
Libya was a disaster from the standpoint of the way it was handled. I really understand what's going on in Syria. It's a total catastrophe. It's a total mess. And we're helping to make it a mess. Let Russia fight ISIS. Strengthening and promoting Western civilization and its accomplishments will do more to inspire positive reforms around the world than military intervention.
Welcome to Tactical Talk. This is Zain. Since Donald Trump won the recent American elections, everyone has been trying to predict his foreign policy. What will Donald Trump's policy be in Syria? What is the future of U.S.-Russia relations? Will Assad stay, or will Donald Trump continue the foreign policy of Barack Obama? To discuss this topic, we have with us today U.S. Army Major General Paul Vallely, a senior geopolitical commentator and also the founder of StandUpAmericaUS.org. Welcome to our show, Major General Paul Vallely. This is Zain Khan. It's a pleasure to have you on Tactical Talk.
Hello, Zain. Happy to be back with you again.
General, ISIS is the biggest threat we face in the form of militancy and terrorism as a global community. It is also a direct threat to the United States because the group openly and directly threats attacks on the United States. How big of a threat does President-elect Donald Trump perceive ISIS to be?
President-elect Trump considers ISIS to be a primary threat from radical Islamists, not only the United States, but also overseas to our friends and allies, and to installations and military that we have operating outside of the United States. So it's a very big threat. He takes it seriously, and he will, with his new military leaders, will form a strategy to defeat ISIS and the spread of Sharia law.
How will President-elect Trump's policy be any different from Barack Obama?
Well, first of all, President Obama's philosophy, I guess, and strategy is leading from behind, which means following, with no overarching strategy for victory against the Islamic forces that are now continuing with their global caliphate. So I think from that standpoint, the selection of the new generals and leadership in the United States Armed Forces and the guidance and the recommendations they give to the new President-elect Trump team will be very, very valuable and very important. But as you know, he will not take office until January the 20th, 2017. So in this interim period of transition, they'll be putting together the different plans, focusing on the major threats to the United States, including ISIS.
In our last interview titled Defeating ISIS, you as a former U.S. Army general have said that you've proposed a plan to wipe out ISIS in 90 days to President-elect Donald Trump. Would you summarize the moves that you have proposed?
Well, when you're focusing on an enemy that occupies territory, such as what we call the target areas, the populated areas by ISIS, and where the caliphate really is, you have to look at Raqqa in Syria. You have to continue to look at Mosul and northern Iraq, which is under attack now, of course, as you know, by Iraqi forces with U.S. Special Operations Forces on the ground, as well as Iranian militia and Shia militias. And so, as I understand, they have entered into the center of Mosul as of yesterday. But then you have to look at Yemen, you have to look at Africa, where ISIS is currently operating in. And we have to look, it's very critical in this whole strategy that we work with the Arab and Muslim countries to destroy and neutralize ISIS wherever they exist. And it's very important. We know General al-Sisi can be depended upon, King Abdullah in Jordan, but we would look for more cooperation from the other Arab states, such as Saudi Arabia, Qatar, who has supported ISIS in great part monetarily, and parts of the Saudi, I would say, country have supported ISIS with finance. So that's got to be stopped. We have to cut off their money. We have to basically draw circles around those target areas, and we have to basically take them out and neutralize them with air-ground operations.
Okay, General, last question. Please elaborate on how Donald Trump's relationship will be in the future with Russia, and also what his strategy would be for Syria.
Well, I think number one, and it's been my advice all along, Syria and ISIS and the situation there in the Middle East will not be solved without working with Russia. Because, as you know, Russia supports President Assad, and the rebellion is, for the most part, has been against Assad. We have not established under President Obama any credibility in working with the Russians. There's been no extension of the handout to Putin to work with him, or from our own State Department. And so under Trump, we will reach out with the help of Lieutenant General Flynn, who's the head of national security for the president-elect. He and I both feel that we have to establish and reaffirm relations with Russia, just as we did in the Cold War between President Reagan and Premier Gorbachev. We had to do the same thing against the Nazis and the Germans in World War II. So I know we can work with the Russians, and we can work with the Turkish government, King Abdullah. We can work with General al-Sisi. So I think you're going to see a new framework of relationship between the United States, Russia, and many of the Arab countries.
Thank you so much, Major General Paul Vallely, for being on Tactical Talk. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you, Zain. Always a pleasure for me as well. Thank you. Bye-bye.
This is Major General Paul Vallely, a senior geopolitical commentator and also the founder of StandUpAmericaUS.org. We were discussing the foreign policy of President-elect Donald Trump. Until the next episode of Tactical Talk, this is Zain Khan. Take care and goodbye.